Wait, did that Israeli just speak Tagalog fluently? Not just fluently, but better than some Filipinos. What started as simple housework turned into a viral cultural shift in 2025. Thousands of Israeli kids are now calling their moms Nene before they say Abba. So what's going on? Why are Hebrew-speaking families singing Filipino lullabies at night? And what does this explosive bond between Israel and the Philippines reveal about the world we live in? The answers will shock you. Stay to the end. This isn't just about language. It's about identity, legacy, and a love story that spans continents. Hold on, stop. You're telling me that in 2025, Israelis are out here speaking Tagalog, better than some born and raised in Quezon City Filipinos? I mean, what? Excuse me, I need a minute. Actually no, I need all of you to sit down, shut up, and really process what I'm about to say. Because this isn't just shocking. This is embarrassing, inspiring, confusing, and somehow deeply hilarious all at once. And it's the kind of story that slaps you across the face with the truth about the world we thought we knew. You see, we're out here scrolling TikTok watching cooking fails and people dance in grocery stores, while in Israel, there's a full-blown Tagalog renaissance happening. Yeah, apparently, while some Filipinos are out here forgetting their own language, little Israeli kids are learning it so well they could host Eat Bulaga blindfolded. You think I'm joking? Nah. Israeli households, Jewish homes, are echoing with Mahal Kita, not just during date night, but in lullabies, dinner prayers, and birthday songs. One kid probably even said Pasalubong before they said Shalom. Let that sink in. Now here's what really grinds my gears. Nobody saw this coming. Not the UN. Not your nosy Tita Susan. Not even the Department of Foreign Affairs. But it's happening. Filipino culture is going viral in places where it's never even been marketed. There's no big tourism billboard in Tel Aviv saying, "Learn Tagalog today." Nope. This is organic. This is real. So what's fueling this? One word, love. But not the Netflix, swipe right, hook up and ghost kind of love. I'm talking about the kind of love that blooms quietly in the homes of caregiving Filipinas working in Israel. The lolas, the yayas, the nurses, the women who left their own children back home so they could raise someone else's halfway across the world. Now here's the twist. They didn't just cook, clean, and keep people alive. They planted something. A language. A lullaby. A sense of belonging. And now? Those Israeli kids are grown up, and they're the ones teaching their kids Tagalog. If that doesn't blow your Americanized mind, then you're probably too busy mispronouncing kamusta on Duolingo. Let me tell you something else. In a world full of TikTok trends and immigration bans, where people get judged for their accent faster than their intelligence, this right here is the most gangster cultural flex I've seen in years. We didn't need billboards or CNN coverage. Filipino culture did what it always does. It snuck in through the heart. Cross-cultural parenting. That's what's happening here. Israeli dads learning Tagalog just to understand the bedtime stories their kids hear from the yaya. Bilingual households built not from elite schooling, but from real-world love. Meanwhile in America, half the population can barely pronounce karaoke right. Karaoke. No, Karen. Just no. And here we have Israeli families preserving Filipino oral tradition better than some modern Pinoy families who'd rather watch K-drama than remember what pakikasama means. This ain't just a story, it's a straight-up identity check. While some people are too busy westernizing themselves to the point of cultural amnesia, Israelis are raising kids who say salamat pa with perfect pronunciation and no autocorrect needed. Let me be real for a sec, this is a love story in disguise. A historical thank you from Israel to the Philippines. You think they forgot? Back in World War II, when the Philippines opened its arms to Jewish refugees, while other countries turned their backs, Israel never forgot. This bond we're seeing today? That's not random. That's gratitude being passed down 3 generations deep. Now here's the gut punch. Filipino culture is being preserved, not in Manila, but in Jerusalem. Let that slap you for a minute. And if you're Filipino-American or heck, just someone who claims to care about cultural heritage, ask yourself, when was the last time you taught someone your native tongue? When was the last time you sat a kid down and explained why we say OPO and bow our heads when greeting elders? Exactly. Meanwhile, little Noah and her Israeli classmates are out here singing Paraparong Bukid and correcting each other's Tagalog grammar like it's the SATs. Now don't get me wrong, I love the globalization of culture. It's beautiful. But if it takes a Tel Aviv preschooler to remind you of your roots, maybe it's time to re-evaluate who you let raise your cultural bar. Let's laugh, cry, reflect. But more than anything, let's stop pretending this isn't a big deal. It is. It's a slap in the face to apathy. It's a viral moment with depth. It's not just cute. It's not just interesting. It's powerful. So yeah, this video title? Not clickbait. It's a cultural mic drop. Israelis learning Tagalog fast isn't the real headline. It's the why that matters. Because when love, history, and daily life intertwine this beautifully, language becomes legacy. So what are you doing to keep your legacy alive? Drop a comment, tag your Lola, and if you've ever heard a foreigner speak your language better than you, own it. Learn it back. Let's not be the generation that forgot what others are trying so hard to remember. Alright. Let's stop being polite and start telling the truth. Because after everything we just uncovered, the 1947 vote, the emotional debt, the lullabies, the Nene before ABBA moments, you'd think the world would finally get it. But nope. They still don't. So now let me say what nobody else will. Filipino caregivers didn't just help raise Israeli kids. They rebuilt what family looks like in thousands of Israeli homes. Not as maids. Not as background characters. As mothers. As culture bearers. As anchors. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. That means you're finally listening. Let's be real. Some of y'all still have the audacity to reduce these women to just the help. Yeah? Let me help you with something. Your idea of help is outdated, disrespectful, and straight up blind. You think raising a child every single day while being 5,000 miles from your own kids isn't heroic? You think showing unconditional love to someone else's family, while yours waits back home, isn't the definition of emotional labor on steroids? Bro. Please. Take several seats. Because while everyone was busy pretending global caregiving was a one-way exchange, we pay you serve, Filipino women were rewriting the blueprint for what actual human connection looks like. Let's talk facts. By the 1970s, Israel was staring down the barrel of a caregiving crisis. Aging population. Overworked families. Sound familiar, America? Yeah, this one's coming for you too, don't get comfortable. So what did Israel do? It didn't just go fishing in the global labor pool. No. It looked straight at the Philippines, the same country that stood by Israel when no one else did in 1947, and said, "We trust you with our homes." That's not business. That's legacy. And guess what? Filipinos showed up. But they didn't just bring uniforms and schedules, they brought soul. I'm talking about women like Aling Nina, who didn't just wipe down tables. She rewired an entire family's emotional ecosystem. She taught Sarah, the Israeli kid she cared for, how to knead dough for pandesal, how to say P and Opio with respect, how to sing Bahay Kubo like it was a national anthem. Hebrew who? That kid was out here bilingual before she could tie her own shoes. You think that's small? You think that's insignificant? Then clearly you've never seen a child cry when their yaya boards a plane back to Manila. Let's call this what it is. Filipino culture didn't knock on the door of Israel. It came in, set the table, fed the kids, and became family. And here's where it gets even juicier. These women weren't just part of the house, they started shaping it. You know how I know? Because they stopped being called the help, and started being called Nana, Tita, Tata. You don't call your cleaner that. You call family that. This wasn't assimilation. This wasn't multiculturalism in theory. This was real, raw, lived integration. Language, love, food, values, everything. Israelis started saying masarap instead of tov mioi. Tulog na instead of Layla tov. And Filipino values like kabaitan, kindness, pakikasama, harmonious living, and utang na loob, debt of gratitude, they didn't just translate. They transformed. But here's the kicker, and brace yourself, some Filipinos still don't realize the insane global impact they're making. They're too busy feeling ashamed of their jobs, when in reality, they're raising presidents, engineers, entrepreneurs. Not just children but generations. In Israel. In Italy. In Canada. And yes, even in the homes of people who didn't even bother to learn their name at first. OFWs aren't just helpers. They're the world's unpaid diplomats of love. So why does this matter? Because in 2025, the rest of the world is about to face the exact same crisis Israel faced decades ago. America, Europe, your population's aging. Your birth rates are dropping. And spoiler alert, you're going to need care. Real, human care. Not AI, not robots. Filipinos. Again. But here's the thing. If you're not going to respect them the way Israel did, if you're not going to let them teach your kids their songs, or their values, or call them Nene without smirking, then maybe you don't deserve that level of love. Yeah, I said it. Because love, especially this kind of love, shouldn't come cheap. So if you're watching this and you're Filipino, hold your head up. This story is yours. Own it. Share it. Brag about it at the next family reunion. Show it to your tita in Tel Aviv. Tag that friend whose mom raised Israeli kids like her own. And if you're Israeli, and you're hearing your child hum Sampung Mga Deliri while eating shawarma, that's not random. That's legacy. That's decades of trust, love, and shared humanity baked into every moment. So yeah, go ahead. Smash that like button. But more importantly, smash the mindset that Filipino caregivers are just anything. They are everything. And just when you think it couldn't get any deeper, oh it does. Because in the next chapter, we're going to talk about love. Not platonic. Not employer-employee. I mean real, romantic, intercultural marriage. Yup, Filipinos and Israelis building brand new multicultural families. And guess what? It's changing everything. Stay with us. Because this story, it's only getting started. Okay, time for some real talk. Because at this point, if you still think this is just a cute story about a few Israeli guys learning a couple Tagalog phrases to impress their girlfriends, you're missing the entire damn picture. This isn't just romantic. It's revolutionary. It's two worlds, two religions, two languages, two histories, colliding, and instead of exploding, they're freaking slow dancing. Let's not sugarcoat this. Some people still raise eyebrows when they see an Israeli man walking hand in hand with a Filipino woman. You know the look, the one that says, "Is this a green card thing?" Oh, shut up, Susan. This ain't the 90s. This is love. Real, gritty, language barrier shattering, culture mixing love. And not that fairy tale BS either. I'm talking about love where one person is learning how to cook sinigang while the other is figuring out how to read Hebrew right to left without having a meltdown. And the idea that this kind of love still shocks people? Pathetic. Welcome to 2025, where intercultural relationships are no longer fringe, they're the main storyline of this planet. Israeli-Filipino couples aren't just a thing, they're changing what normal even looks like. Let's break it down for the skeptics in the back. David meets Maria. He's an Israeli tech guy with anxiety about olive prices. She's a Filipino caregiver with a smile that can make Tel Aviv traffic seem tolerable. They meet at a Filipino church event. Boom. Connection. No fireworks, just respect. Just curiosity. Just a human being seeing another human being without assumptions. Fast forward, he's eating adobo, she's asking about hummus, and both are arguing over which parent the baby looks like. You know what that is? That's family. Not imported. Not transactional. Not forced. Just beautifully, confusingly real. But here's what really gets me heated. Why do some people act like this is unusual? What's so freaking weird about an Israeli man falling for a Filipino woman? Is it the height difference? The accent? Or is it the fact that she didn't grow up in a gated Tel Aviv condo with an espresso machine named Alexa? Let me say it plain. Filipino women have become the emotional backbone of thousands of Israeli homes. You think these men don't see that? You think they don't feel that? You don't think love can grow when someone is caring for your aging parent with more heart than most people give their own? Of course it can. Of course it does. And it is. And don't come at me with, but what about cultural differences? Please. Cultural differences are just spice. The only people scared of them are the ones who still boil chicken with no seasoning. You know what cultural differences look like in these relationships? They look like David nervously writing Mahal Kita on a napkin while Maria corrects his pronunciation without making him feel stupid. It looks like Maria explaining why Filipinos say po to elders while David teaches her Hebrew words with 5 silent letters. That's not a barrier. That's a bridge. And when kids come into the picture, oh boy. You think this story was beautiful before? Wait till you meet the next generation. Little Eli Joseph is 5 years old, says shalom to his neighbors, magandang umaga to his mom, and tells his classmates that Lola Elena makes better kugel than Softa Rivka. That kid's not confused. That kid's a walking United Nations. Let's be real, these kids are going to speak better Tagalog than some Filipinos born in the motherland. You know I'm right. The same Filipinos who say, "I forgot how to say that in Tagalog," every 3 seconds. Meanwhile, Israeli Filipino kids are out here decoding Sampung Mga Deliri like it's Shakespeare. And for those whispering, what about religion? You want to know the truth? Respect doesn't need conversion. It needs compassion. These couples make it work. They talk. They pray together or beside each other. They build something better, not despite their differences, but because of them. This isn't a fluke. It's a quiet revolution. It's soft power in its purest form. While governments argue over borders, these couples are building bridges in their own homes. One mixed dish, one dual-language bedtime story, one interfaith hug at a time. So yeah, Israelis are learning Tagalog fast. Not because they have to. Because they want to. Because love does that. It makes you want to say, "I love you" in the language of the one who makes your heart feel like home. And if you still don't get it, maybe you've never really loved someone enough to want to speak their soul. This is what happens when human connection beats politics. When kindness outshines judgment. When two people from opposite ends of the map realize they're not that different at all. So stop pretending this is just a phase or a trend. This is the future. And honestly, it's freaking beautiful. Now if you're still with me, smash that like button so hard it learns Tagalog. And drop a comment below. Have you ever seen two cultures come together so seamlessly it made your heart burst? Or maybe you are one of those couples. Flex it. Brag. Because the world needs more of this. More love that crosses oceans, borders, and breakfast menus. And don't even think about leaving, because in the next segment, we're wrapping this up with a bang. We're talking about the ultimate takeaway. The timeless spiritual truth that explains why this bond, between Israelis and Filipinos, isn't just a story. It's a blueprint for what real unity looks like. Stick around. Because if this didn't change how you see the world, the next part absolutely will. You still think this was just a story about language? Oh no, sweetheart. This was a story about truth. About what real love, real respect, and real humanity actually look like when no one's trying to post it for likes. Let's stop pretending like this is just a nice cultural exchange. Nah. This is one of the most powerful examples of human reciprocity the modern world has ever seen. And if you're not paying attention, you're part of the damn problem. Let me ask you something. When was the last time another country voluntarily learned your language? Not because they had to, not because it was profitable, but because they were grateful. Exactly. That doesn't happen. This ain't French being learned in fashion schools, or Mandarin for business deals. This is Tagalog, a language born out of resilience, history, and community, being learned in kitchens, living rooms, and bedtime stories in Jewish homes across Israel. And it's not coming from textbooks. It's coming from the heart. From gratitude. The kind of deep historical, I haven't forgotten what you did for us kind of gratitude that actually shows up in the everyday. But let's flip the mirror for a second. How many Filipinos even realize what this means? Too many still walk around embarrassed of their accent, afraid to speak their own language in public, like Tagalog is something to whisper. Are you kidding me? Israelis are out here proudly saying Mahal Kita in public, and some of us still act like being fluent in English makes us better. Wake up. You're not just underestimating your language. You're disrespecting your own culture. While Israeli fathers are literally tucking their half-Filipino kids into bed with Filipino lullabies, there are still people in Manila acting like their dialect is something to hide at job interviews. Enough. Language is identity. It's memory. It's legacy. Every time an Israeli learns to say Salamat pa with proper cadence, it's not just adorable, it's historic. That's a cultural olive branch. That's a hey, thank you for standing by us in 1947, and for raising our grandparents, and for loving us when we were too tired to love ourselves. You want to know what real diplomacy looks like? It looks like this. It looks like language being passed down in the hallways of Tel Aviv apartments. It looks like nene being said with more reverence than mommy. And look, before someone in the comments says, well, it's because they work there, duh, let me stop you. They didn't have to learn Tagalog. Nobody handed out points for it. Nobody made it a government policy. This wasn't in the contract. They chose to learn. Because when someone sings your baby to sleep in a language that carries lullabies across oceans, you learn the words. Out of love. That's what's happening here. Not assimilation. Not appropriation. Appreciation. Big difference. And here's what makes me want to scream this from a rooftop with a megaphone. This is what the whole damn world is starving for right now. Not trade deals. Not tweets. Connection. Gratitude. Respect. We live in a world that's too busy building walls to notice the bridges right in front of us. But Israel and the Philippines? They didn't just build a bridge. They decorated it with childhood memories, kitchen smells, and I love yous in 2 different tongues. And now that bridge is stronger than ever. Because it's not made of politics. It's made of people. So yeah, Israelis are learning Filipino. And it's not because it's trending on TikTok. It's because someone's Lola taught them how to love. Let's not forget, these caregivers didn't come to Israel with signs saying, we demand respect. They came with open hearts, full hands, and enough love to fill homes that were once cold. And what did Israel do? They remembered. Not with a statue. Not with a holiday. They remembered with language. With their kids. With bedtime stories. Let that sink in. In a world where loyalty barely lasts a tweet, Israel remembered a vote from 1947, and turned it into lullabies. Now if that doesn't make you feel something, you might need to check your pulse. So here's your call to action, and it's not just like and subscribe. It's this, be proud of your language. Stop code switching to impress people who'll never understand where you came from. Teach your kids Salamat before you teach them thank you. Because guess what? The world is listening now. Israel is listening. The world is starting to see what Filipinos have known all along, that love isn't just in actions. It's in words. And when those words cross oceans, walls crumble. So let's honor that. Let's keep that bridge strong. Let's keep teaching, learning, laughing, loving, in every language that brought us here. Because if this story proved anything, it's that language, when fueled by love and gratitude, becomes more than a sound. It becomes sacred. Now do me a favor. Share this video. Not for clicks, but for pride. For culture. For connection. And if you've ever heard your name spoken in someone else's language, and it made you feel seen, comment below. This space is yours. These stories are ours. And trust me, the world needs them now more than ever. This isn't just a video. This is a love letter. In Tagalog. In Hebrew. In truth.